what a year it has been. And we look back at 2021 and what did we accomplish thanks to all of this? I think back a few years ago, before I really started growing Patreon, that it was a struggle from year to year to figure out what am I going to be able to do, the limited amount of equipment. Is it going to just be a couple of hurricanes that I'm going to be able to afford to cover? Or what? Am I going to just watch these big events happen and I'm not able to cover them like I want to? And really these last 3 years since 2018, when Patreon really took off, it has literally been mainly now, what am I able to do in terms of the time? And, I can't be everywhere, obviously, and there's different things that I'm still just one person, but finally, the budget part has not been an impediment. And so looking back at this year, we had a big winter storm in January that I went and set up some equipment for with Mike Farrow. And then we had the severe weather in April and May that Matt helped out with in Colorado. And then Brent came up and we tested some ideas that I'm going to talk about that'll spill into 2022. And then we had the various hurricanes. We had Elsa, Ida, Henri, Fred, Nicholas. I went to Mexico, of course, for Pamela. And it was a very successful season for deploying the most amount of equipment ever. We did testing of lots of new stuff. We enhanced, thanks to Will Woodgate, that tracking map that's just probably one of the greatest interactive maps for overall display of our assets and being able to drill down and see what's going on. That tracking map, I'm extremely proud of it. Started a wonderful partnership with Storm 2K that I've been a part of since 2003, which was fantastic. The first other website that is actively supporting through Patreon this project. And it was very successful. We did everything we could possibly do to the best of our ability. Some of you right there physically helping in person, which is also just tremendous. And so, it's only October 29th, hurricane season still technically going. I think the landfall risk now is less than 1%. If I had to tag it with a number, it's what do they say? It's a non-zero chance, but by and large, I think the landfall season for the United States is done. So we're going to focus on what do we do next? What's coming up next? So just a few things about technology. We have all of the cameras that we need now. So big round of applause to everybody that helped with that. We have the 20 that are operational if we ever needed them. And then we have 6 or 7 more in reserve, these Nest cams, the Nest outdoor cameras. People donated those either directly, literally went on Amazon and sent them, or provided the funding through PayPal or through Patreon. And so we literally have all that we need for remote cameras. And then we're also growing the network of cameras out in the across the country that people are hosting at their place. We added just a few this year. We're bringing a few more online over the next few weeks and months around the region, a couple in Arizona, I'm hoping. So the equipment was fantastic. We've got batteries out the wazoo, plenty of batteries, plenty of GoPros. So the technology is exactly where I want it to be. It really, really is. And that's why for like Ida, we didn't have to worry about it. We just put everything out that we could possibly put out. It was just a matter of manpower. And, how fast can we put all that equipment out? And you saw how successful that was for Ida. So tech update wise, from the tech side, I mean, my goodness, we're set in terms of what we know. The cameras, the weather stations. By the way, both weather stations that were lost in Ida because of that weird vibration, which we have solved the problem. We figured out what caused it. We have solved the problem. One of our supporters, Anthony Rizzo, down in Florida, he and some of his colleagues that are in construction have retrofitted those clamps so that they're easier to deploy. And we're going to put little holes in the T-screws so that once they're screwed down, they'll be zip tied together so they can't back out. They will oppose each other and they won't be able to unscrew. A very simple solution. Brent came up with that idea. A lot of other very fancy solutions that were offered from some smart people. But, Occam's razor, usually the simplest solution, all things being considered, is the correct solution. 2 anemometers that were broken and destroyed and or lost because of that vibration issue and the things falling off the bridges. Both of those replaced. Both of those replaced by anonymous, wonderful donations from people, and they're ready to go. I'm just waiting for an event. I might give one to Evan Fisher, that guy that goes up on Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina and stands in 100-mile-an-hour wind, and have him test them out maybe during the winter. He would be perfect for that. If you don't know Evan, check him out on Twitter. So in terms of tech for next year, I just want to show you one thing. I met through Patreon and just sheer happenstance, Dr. Ryan Mieres. Hopefully I say his name, the last name correct. Ryan, you on there? Yeah, there he is. He became a patron right before the season really got active, and he actually, you know what? Real quick, Ryan, if you don't mind, introduce yourself, and then I'll take it from there. He happens to be tuned in tonight.
Yeah. So, I think my headphones have the external audio. Hang on, I can hear myself because they have the external.
That's the worst on television, believe me.
Okay, good. Ambient sound control off. That's much better. Yeah, so I'm a professor at UNC Wilmington. I live literally down the street from Mark, and I'm a professor in coastal engineering. And my research area is in hurricanes, extreme events, and coastal impacts. And I develop low-cost sensors to make measurements during hurricanes and extreme events. So I sent a tweet to Mark one day, and yeah, now we're talking.
Yes. So we had dinner the other night at a new place that I tried, if you can believe that. David Van Bergen, you'll appreciate this. I tried a barbecue place called Mission Barbecue, and it was fantastic. I'm hooked.
Yeah, barbecue's kind of a food group here.
Yes. So Brent would especially appreciate that, since I've tend to go to Longhorn, Texas Roadhouse, and Cheesecake Factory. We've added Mission Barbecue, but seriously, let me share my screen. I want to show you something real quick. If I can make this work, let's share that. You should see it. This is a paper that Ryan put together, rapid response observations on barrier islands along Cape Fear, North Carolina during Hurricane Isaias, which Isaias is actually the episode I'm working on, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's a paper that I can put a link to for you all on Patreon after this, and you can read it yourselves. It's really detailed, a scientific paper. Let me scroll to the bottom. I want to show you this. These probes right here that Ryan has invented, if you will, right there. These wave probes, etc. I want to get our hands on at least one of those. He's going to help make that happen. I think he said they're around $2,500. We could have our own live wave data in real time. It can transmit live to accompany one of our cameras. Imagine being able to augment what we're doing with our own sensors and cameras with at least one of these for 2022. That is one of the things I want to set up. And real quick, Ryan, I'm going to go out, stop sharing. Can you just talk about it just for a moment, that sensor?
Yeah, so just a minor correction. Those sensors are actually the current market available sensors that are a little bit more expensive and are not real time, which was a problem during Isaias for me, because I went out to recover those with a metal detector because I thought for sure they were gone. And when I arrived, they were actually buried.
Right.
So we had accretion where I thought for sure there would have been tons of erosion. But the new sensors that we're working on, it's a project with me, a private company in North Carolina, and North Carolina State University. And we're basically taking what those sensors do and turning it into a real-time wave sensor. And it was inspired or started really because myself and many of my colleagues who do this kind of work have lost expensive sensors and instruments, and more importantly, the data, right? And so we'll deploy them on, stairs going over the dune or other coastal structures, and then they get destroyed during a hurricane, and we lose the data, more importantly. And so we would, if we lose the sensors, it's fine, I guess, but the more important thing is the data sent in real time to the cloud. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be really neat to have one of those for next year. More than one if we can afford it, but and we could work with some of the local pier owners, and with Ryan living right here in Wilmington, we can work on how to set them up, and I can do videos and how that project is progressing. This is very exciting. I see that he and I are going to be working more and more together in the future on lots of different things potentially. So what a great find just out of the blue. And in fact, he's friends with Dr. Brian Davis, who is featured in the first episode of the Hurricane Highway, kind of the pilot episode, who was my physics and astronomy professor when I was in school more than 26 years ago. Same university, Dr. Davis is still there. It's pretty amazing. So Ryan has been a good find, as they say. The internet brings, with all the bad things, it does bring some good. So it's been nice to get to know him because of UNCW, and of course, reaching out on Twitter, and now he's on Patreon with us, and we're developing some cool stuff. So I look forward to updating you all about that. So, and he's at a conference right now. You're in Myrtle Beach, Ryan, is that right?
Yeah. So I'm at North Myrtle Beach, and we just had our dinner. I'm organizing a conference this weekend as well, so I'll probably have to jump off, but I just wanted to, Mark asked me to come on to just say hello. Yeah, go ahead and check out that paper. I think I sent Mark a poster as well, which might be easier to digest than the paper. But yeah, I look forward to working with Mark. I think that it's mutual. The lucky find.
Right.
So yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway,
thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I look forward to next season for sure. So I hope we can get some of that real-time wave data.
Looking forward to Mission Barbecue again soon.
That too. All right. See you, Mark.
Take it easy. Okay, so that's one piece of equipment that I'm looking forward to next year. But like I said, camera-wise, batteries, the anemometers, the orange clamps that hold stuff onto bridges, overpasses, whatever. I mean, we'll need a few things come springtime. We'll do the annual wish list, but it's going to be much smaller because we've got a lot of what we need, and in some cases, a little bit more. We have a surplus, which is really good. Because then I can start scattering some equipment, maybe housing it in some areas ahead of time, pre-staging, etc. So, you were there for, most of you been here for 2021. You saw it unfold in real time through the updates, through the missions, etc. We did do some remarkable things on our end, the back end, that Mike Cornelius in Orlando and the back end team consisting of CJ and Kari, or Spooky McSpook, and Tim helped to put together so that the experience, the end user, and of course, Will Woodgate's map, that the end user part was almost flawless, as close to 100%. It never went down. You remember last year, 2020, during Laura, the whole Nest system crashed. It was not our fault. It was something on Nest, and it wasn't embedding properly. We actually had redundancy if that ever happened, that we could instantly switch to. We didn't have to, thank goodness. But I thought the interface this year worked really, really well. I've been able to go back and look at some of the coverage that's archived on YouTube, at least, and see how well it worked. Just some of the things like the cameras running, even if they got knocked off of the pilings and they just kept going. Some of that's luck, that we got lucky. We're using good gear, but it's also from testing. We've tested this stuff over and over, and we have found a design of those camera boxes that even when they get blasted and knocked off their perches, that they can still transmit live. We saw it during Isaias when it went up under the house there on Oak Island and kept transmitting. It looked like a horror movie with all sorts of stuff coming in. There was a refrigerator, a stove, and seaweed, and it looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon for about an hour. And then, of course, Ida was the ultimate, when the camera got knocked off the piling underneath that restaurant and for near landing and drifted over into the woods and kept streaming for almost 3 hours. Again, it looked like something out of the Blair Witch Project. It's not useful scientific at that point, but certainly something interesting that shows the technology is robust. We are testing GoPro Hero 9s. Matt has been working on that in Colorado. The Hero 9 allows you to set a timer. What a concept. I've been hoping GoPro would do that for years, and they do offer it. And I think you can backdate it to the earlier models. Matt, maybe you can jump in. Is it 7, 8, and 9? Like some of them it's included. Some of them you can update your firmware or whatever, but he's been working on that. And so we could literally set a timer on a GoPro to run for 6 or 7 or 8 hours or 12 or whatever, and shoot it in 4K and not have to worry about filling up the chip. It's a data thing. 4K video is very dense, and the higher resolution you record, the processor runs hotter. So Matt in Colorado has done some work on that. Imagine being able to put these cameras out and have some 4K video that just helps. It helps with photogrammetry, measuring what's going on through video. The higher resolution, the better. So Matt's kind of spearheaded that in Colorado in his spare time, haven't you? What little spare time he's got.
Yep.
So that's the tech side of things. We're pretty all well set. Production stuff, I was able to crank out so far this year 4 full episodes of the Hurricane Highway Season 2, despite everything else that's been going on. And, I don't want to make it sound like, trying to get sympathy, but it is really hard to make a television show. And that's what it is. It's like a TV show. You got to get the interviews. I do the music. I write everything. I edit it. I cut it. I do the sound design. I meet with colleagues here in Wilmington. That would usually be Mike Farrow or Tony Bright, which they bounce ideas off. We all off of each other. I call some of you guys. You know who you are. We talk about things, and maybe this will work. Maybe that won't. And then I got to edit the whole thing and then see how it works out. And it's hard, but the reward is we have 4 episodes out of what are going to probably be 10 or 11 for season 2 in the can. And those are all on the HurricaneTrack Insider site under the original documentaries tab, if you will, the menu item there. Check them out. They're all 4 there up through about July 2020. The next episode is Isaias. Ryan is going to be in that episode talking about what he was doing in the that hurricane here, which hit Wilmington, hit my area. And then it'll be Laura and Sally and Beta and just on and on and on. We'll eventually get caught up. But season 2 is moving along. And it's funny, my daughter downstairs is trying to FaceTime me. I'm in the office. Hi, you want to say hi to everybody on Zoom? I'm in the office. I'll be down in just a little bit, okay? She was taking a nap. I'll see you in a bit, all right? All right, bye-bye. She's FaceTiming me in the office. She's literally 6 feet underneath me downstairs. That's funny. That's my daughter, Daphne, by the way, making a guest appearance. I guess all things considered, from what we've seen from people getting interrupted on Zoom, that was easy. So the series keeps going. We'll do a season 3, of course, which will cover the 2021 hurricane season. And again, with everything kind of shutting down in October hurricane wise, I should be able to get caught up with everything, all 3 seasons be done before we get to April. And I can finally catch my breath on production and have all of those out there. And remember, a lot of you will have your names in the credits as being either producers or supporters. That's very important to me because you're helping to keep this a viable thing for me to do. And it's the least that I can do back. And that's forever. That's on YouTube and Amazon Prime. They are on Amazon Prime, by the way. Season 1 is. Unfortunately, Amazon Prime doesn't let me make them free. I don't know why. I cannot make them included with Prime any longer. So I've got the lowest rental value or whatever that they allow me, because I would like them to be free. You guys are the ones financing them, and I want them to be free. So on YouTube, they are free. There's not even any commercials or Google ads that I'm putting on there because they're crowdfunded. That's the whole point. So I'm excited about continuing. I got some good interviews lined up for the rest of season 2, and we'll keep working on that as well. Good music. I'm kind of making the music more edgy as we go through the 2020 season. Once we get to Laura, it starts to get real serious, and you'll see it. There's a kind of a change in the music and just the overall editing and the process of it. Starting in December, season 3 of the audio podcast, Stories from the Hurricane Highway. That's the look back chronological order of my life and career. And I will pick up in the year 2006. We're always going to be, kind of in the past. And that's the long format podcast series. If you haven't caught that yet, That's also listed on the Insider site under the podcast link. All 2 seasons that we do have are on there. I'll have different people from the past that were influential joining me for that season 3 coming up. First episode will drop the first week of December. And then every Wednesday thereafter, we'll put a new episode out of season 3 of Stories from the Hurricane Highway. Eventually, it'll catch up so that future seasons will be an audio podcast for the previous season. That we won't be looking back 5 years, 8 years, whatever. We're going to eventually close that gap. I figure season 3 will cover 2006, 2007, and 2008, all in season 3, which is December through May, that I produce these weekly episodes. Now, for next year in January, when we flip the calendar and it's January 1st, I don't even know what the day of the week is that it happens, but whatever the first Monday of January is, when I would normally do my off-season hurricane outlook and discussion, there's been some talk from CJ and some of us kind of on the back end that maybe we do things a little different. Want to have, because, we've expanded into covering more weather. Part of that coverage is for practice. Part of it is because we can, the budget is there. And part of it's because it's exciting to do. It keeps people aware. We use the technology to immerse you in winter storms, severe weather, whatever we can do. That the more inclusion and patrons we have, and the more funding and people around the country to help, the more we can cover. But we're getting there. But what about sort of discussing it? So instead of rebranding like Facebook just did with Meta or whatever it's called, I'm not going to leave the HurricaneTrack brand because I think that's a mistake. But I think more of the, yes, we do cover more than just hurricanes and why, kind of a round table. And so we kind of thought that would be a good name for it. So once a week, I think, and I want your input on this, think about it after tonight. We don't have to decide right now. But once a week, starting in January, on a Monday, probably, I will do a live broadcast, probably in the afternoon or evening. We'll figure it out, and just call it the Weather Roundtable, brought to you by HurricaneTrack. And instead of you already got Weather Brains, you've got Carolina Weather Group or whatever. It won't be a talk show where we bring in, here's Neil Frank, and we're going to talk about his life and career. It's different. We'll talk about current weather and upcoming weather with people like Eric Webb, Phil Klotzbach, Jack Sillen. We know a big storm's coming and it's going to be in the Northeast. So maybe we get Eric Fisher from Boston to come on. People that are going to shape and talk about something that's coming up. The big blizzard that we see coming up. Let's talk about that. Maybe Dr. Klotzbach comes on and talks about the hurricane season, which is 5 months away or whatever. And it's just sort of a round table discussion of different topics. And we'll do it live on Patreon through YouTube for you guys first. And you would have input and questions. Heck, we might even be able to do it over Zoom. And we do presentations, and then we take questions and just let it run until we're done. And just a nice sort of look at the week ahead and weather in this sort of roundtable discussion like we talked about. There's even a prototype logo that Tim, our art guy, has been working on. And that's something I'm just thinking about. So you guys think about it and let me hear about it later. Send me an email or a comment in the in Patreon. That every Monday starting in January, I think that's a good way to just broaden out to more weather while still bringing that HurricaneTrack. It's brought to you by HurricaneTrack. It's a HurricaneTrack product, even though it's the off season, because I get tired of saying HurricaneTrack off season, Mark Sudduth, blah, 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 blah. So we just call it the Weather Roundtable discussion. And it will always include some tropical stuff. What are we looking at for INSO, the El Nino? What are some of the, we'll get Ben Knoll to come on live. He's in New Zealand, so he's 12, 13 hours away. So late in the day would be a good time for him. So instead of a recording of like Hurricane U, we'll just have Ben come on. Maybe he's got the brand new upward motion charts from the ECMWF UK Met Super Blend. Well, let's talk about it live with all of us. I think that's a good thing that we can do. And again, there's a big severe weather outbreak coming. There's a big blizzard coming or flood event. who knows, we get different experts in those disciplines related to meteorology and high impact weather to discuss that in this roundtable discussion. And David, in Storm 2K, I think that could go a long way, putting a link on there, and the Storm 2K members could join in as well, because as David knows, Storm 2K is not just hurricanes.
Right. We cover everything.
Right. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about for next year. What else? Okay. So on HurricaneTrack Insider, we have the chat, and it's called C-Box. And I've had that since 2009 when my good friend Paul Bowman told me about it. And it's a thing that I pay for. I think it's $24 a year. It's very expensive, right? And it works 99.9999% of the time. We hardly ever have issues with it where it just doesn't work. So that's good, but it is kind of antiquated. And it's limited in comparison to what else is out there. So there's this other phenomenon chat thing out there. The gamers really know this, and I didn't know about it until the last year or so, called Discord. Some of you already know what it is. I'm still learning, some of this stuff has been new to me. In 2022, and gradually, maybe even by December 1st, at the end of the season, we're going to gradually start inviting people to get on Discord and see how that works. And for those of you that know what it is and say, yep, I want to be on that, send us a message, let me know. If some of you are like, I don't know what that is, I like the chat the way it is, you'll be fine. We're not going to get rid of the chat box, C-Box, but we're going to add Discord. Josh, quiet. We're going to add Discord. Somebody's stretching out. So you just see him back there going, ah! We're going to add Discord as an option because it is very feature rich. CJ, will you jump in real quick and just sell me Discord? 30 seconds. Sell me Discord. I don't know what it is. Sell me Discord.
So for those of you who aren't aware of Discord, or might have been around to see the AIM days, remember AIM? This is very similar. We can share photos. We can share, honestly, any type of multimedia links. It's a way for us to actually be able to engage. And there's actually a way for us to talk to each other through voice channels. Streamers use it to talk to their fans, or if they're out there playing games, you might have a group of buddies that you game with. You're able to talk to each other without, talking to a whole party of strangers. Right. So this is going to give us a way to really interact with everybody, especially when we get those live coverage events going. You can literally be able to interact with us immediately right then and there, and possibly even talk to us through the voice chat portion. Mark, I know we were talking about that a couple of days ago. I think me, Kari, you, and Tim were kind of going back and forth about it. But this really does give us a way to enhance that chat and really bring this community, is what it is at this point, together in a way that isn't able to be done with C-Box.
Right, and it's something that we can gradually integrate in, so we don't shock the system and say, all right, everybody, you have to be on here by a certain date or you're out. And I don't want to exclude anybody either. So that C-Box will always be there, and then Discord will be there as an augmented way to add some stuff. So some Karen, will we be able to stream the storms live on there? I guess we can stream the storms on there, like embed stuff. CJ, you would know. I guess the game.
That actually would probably be a better question, honestly, for Mike.
And even Matt, you know,
yeah, I know about it too. You could easily do that. Easily.
Nice. Yeah. So we just got to figure out how, because I don't want too much going on and people are like, well, I didn't know that was over there. Why do I got to go over there? If you have too many options, you know how people are.
Right.
They like things somewhat served up, not too complicated. So we just got to find that right balance. But the back end team has been using Discord for a year. I've been involved a little bit, and I like it. And I'm ready to kind of gradually start rolling it out to more people for sure. So,
and for those of y'all that enjoy using your phone, there is an app for your iPhone or Android, no matter what, and even the desktop computer. Download it right onto your desktop, and it functions like any other program. So you can have it sitting there and get notifications or whatever.
Right. Yeah, maybe there could be, it will be limited to an amount of users, but the beauty of it is we're going to be closed ended. And so,
Right.
even in one of our biggest peaks, we've had about 900 people online. And not everybody will want to use Discord. So I'm not too worried about it being, and no, it won't be, it'll be included in the Patreon, no additional cost at all.
For anybody that has a Discord or doesn't, Discord is a public site. You think of this as like it's our own little room within Discord. Okay. So Discord itself, the app, the service is free, but to be in the HurricaneTrack, you have to be invited into the server. Right. That would be included with Patreon subscribers. Yep.
Absolutely. So that's one of the things I want to roll out starting probably in early December. In terms of coverage next year, I want to talk about that real quick. We're going to move into more winter storms eventually. And I definitely plan on covering those to the best of my ability. Lake effect snows. I want a high plains blizzard. I want to get a chance to get out there and do that. Matt in Colorado could be pivotal in that. Even going to Arizona and seeing some of the high desert Grand Canyon, Flagstaff area, they get some pretty big snows, and just drawing attention to it and kind of covering it from a different perspective instead of just a windshield and storm chasing, that we immerse you in it. We learn from it. What can we take away from it? How does it impact the people out there? And, I mention it a lot that when you get precipitation in the West, that we want that, what are the benefits here? What are the negatives? What are the negative impacts? That there's always a story with covering the weather instead of everything is extreme, everything is awesome, and everything, oh my God, we're not trying to get 5 million views, the money shot. That's not the point. The point is the entirety of a story, and to be able to cover that using our technology and our group of people that we have out there all across the country, I think is just waiting to be tapped into even more. So winter storms, absolutely. The nor'easters, Situate, Massachusetts, Marshfield that just got hammered the other day. I want to be able to get up there and put cameras right there on that bulkhead and meet some of these people in person, get to know the local police department, that they see this stuff too, and just take what we're doing in hurricanes and continue to kind of insert it into these other big impact events, as much as the budget allows. And then for severe weather, I definitely think that we're on to something here that we played with a little bit in 2021 in April and May. And that is the idea of setting up this sort of fence or spike strip or whatever some clever name will come to call it, to show people what a supercell, and certainly one that has a tornado too, is capable of doing using our technology in a very unique way. And we did it in April, Matt and I, on a limited basis. And then Brent and I tried to do it in May. It was just a harder chase day. But I want to go out when we have a series of days where there's an outbreak coming, have a couple of teams of us, and basically set up several camera systems over about a 2 or 3 mile area. As that supercell is tracking along, radar scope gifts it to you. It's a gift. It shows you that track. I mean, it's just hand, delivered in terms of where it's going to go. And we set up our equipment where cameras are looking at it and cameras are looking away from it. We do it in 4K with the GoPros. We live stream it from multiple cameras spread out across that fence, if you will, literally using the fences that are out there. That's what's funny about it, is they're mostly barbed wire, as you know, out in the Midwest, trillions of miles of barbed wire. Matt has come up with a way to just kind of hang these cameras right on that fence. We don't have to strap it down and it takes 3 minutes. It's already running. Set that sucker up with a little hook on there. It's looking at the supercell and get the heck out of the way. We'll put these Apple AirTags in these. If they get blown off the fence, we can try to track them. We can put APRS transmitters in them so we can pick them up that way. We can put pressure sensors, those little kestrels, to gather data every second. So we get a visual representation from multiple angles. Think about the tornado not too far from David, far enough though for him to be safe, right? Over in Orange, Texas the other day, as that crossed the interstate. We've seen that one video where it goes by There's a couple other shots. You saw that ATV get lofted. Imagine seeing that same tornado from 6 or 7 different angles, all purposely set up to capture it. That person that was there was at the right place at the wrong time, so to speak. You catch it from, the first strip, if you will. The supercell goes across. Team 2 sets up another one a few miles away. The grid system in the Great Plains is easy. There's challenges, though, for sure. Chaser convergence, there could be thousands of people out there. We have rules. And I think the number one rule is if it's a high risk, we're not doing it. We'll choose an area that's not quite high risk, because there's going to be 10,000 people out there and we could get stuck. And safety is a paramount number one. That's the number one thing. And we're not going to use the technology and then get stuck. And a big F4 tornado does what unfortunately happened to Tim Samaras, his son, and their other colleague back in 2013. We have to be safe about it and smart. And going after those high risk days, this is going to have to just be rules. But we can see hail in a different way that could be useful to the insurance industry, and just getting people involved, that we're studying this phenomenon of severe weather a different way. And David, I think the Storm 2K crowd could really get behind this. And it is a backdrop, literally as a dress rehearsal. April and May, what's next? June, that's hurricane season. And we are ready for hurricane season. So you think about it, the winter storms will occupy us maybe November, December, January, February, whatever. That's some time period. And then we got Christmas, Thanksgiving, time goes by quick. Severe weather really starts ramping up April and May. It's all of a sudden June 1st, 2022, and we're ready to go with a lot of interesting projects that we have already done, and it's not even hurricane season yet. Conference-wise, virus be damned, if we can have the National Tropical Weather Conference, I hope that some of you, I'd love if all of you could go. That is the one that is just fantastic. David knows all about it. Some of you, a couple others you might too. It's in South Padre. I'm going to post something about this in November on Patreon. I am already scheduled as a featured speaker. It is a great conference in South Padre Island, Texas. It is mainly situated for broadcast meteorologists, but the beauty of it is there's not 2,000 people. It's usually a couple hundred. And if you all are in the position to go and you want something to do, it's April 6th through the 9th. We'll get some details later. I really, really am hopeful with everything and the progress that's being made in our battle against COVID-19 that this will be, in fact, in person. We've missed 2 years, 2020 and 2021. They've been canceled in person, but that's coming up in April. I will be there. It's a great opportunity. We could get together, have our own private meetings, etc. I can introduce you to some of these people from the Hurricane Center. Again, with it not being 2,000 people like the National Hurricane Conference can be, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just larger and less intimate. This is much more focused. David Van Bergen, man, it is one of the greats.
Yeah.
And
I'm on the advisory council, and
oh, that's right.
We are registering right now.
Good.
And they're planning on it to go live and go live stream also.
Right.
This
But
year.
in person, we need that in person thing. We really do. There's a lot.
It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
To meet with people, and I'm just throwing out names. You know all of them, but I mean, with Dr. Phil, with Dr. Neil Frey, Bill Reed. I mean, I could go on and on about the people I've met and know personally because of this conference, and it's wonderful.
I like that, Mission Barbecue. So I'll post that on Monday, November 1st. I'll post the link to the National Tropical Weather Conference. Something to think about. You get yourself down to South Padre. It's a great area, great camaraderie. We all go out to dinner as a group. Alex and Tim, who coordinate it and kind of spearhead it, do a fantastic job. And that's coming up. I have not heard anything from the National Hurricane Conference. Hopefully, Dan Brown at the National Hurricane Center, forecaster Brown, he invited me to speak at 2020 and 2021. Neither of them happened. I don't think 21 happened. If it did, I never heard about it. But hopefully that'll happen as well. Maybe it'll be in Orlando, but we'll wait and see about that. But right now, officially, the National Tropical Weather Conference is scheduled for April 6th through the 9th. All right. couple other things, and then I'm going to just turn it over for a few thoughts and input from you guys. The big announcement. I'm very excited about this. As you know, for a long time, I drove a Chevy Tahoe, and that was the flagship vehicle. Lowe's Home Improvement purchased it for my project back in 2003 as part of my giant partnership that I had with them. And I don't want to give too much away because we're going to cover sort of the end of that story in season 3 of the podcast series. But in 2018, it finally kind of gave up the ghost, as they say. Too much was needing to be repaired. It was unsafe to keep driving it. And it just died on me on the way back from a blizzard, in fact, in the Jersey Shore in February or March or whatever it was of 2018. And it's mothballed currently over at a friend's business and his business lot. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't want to trash it or give it to a junkyard, but story for another day on that. So I've rented ever since, or driven a secondary Chevy Tahoe that our good friend Carrie Mallory, who passed away in early 2020, unfortunately, he bought for the project back in early 2017. That's still sitting in my driveway. Ironically, it's also a 2001, literally made probably within a few months of the other one, in the same factory in Texas, the great state of Texas. But it's got 270,000 miles. It's 20 years old. It barely is hanging on. I mean, I drive it around Wilmington. I might take it up to the Outer Banks if I had to, but the transmission's going to go, the engine's going to, the chain, it's just not, I can't take it out. I took it from Michael, and that was the last great adventure 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I think we took it down to Florida for Dorian, but that was only down to like Palm Bay or something, just as a reserve vehicle. So it's time for a vehicle. And we have worked on the whole angle of reach out to Chevrolet, reach out, try to get somebody to donate a vehicle. And nobody bites. I actually had a PR firm in Charleston that was helping me with that in 2019. And you basically have to have millions of followers because they look at it as a return on investment, the whole impact thing for social media. And, I'm 40, 50,000 followers here and there, and it's okay, but they like the superstars, 5 million YouTube subscribers, 10 million people on Instagram, whatever. And then all I got to do is mention that Chevy's donated the vehicle, and they get a big, they sell 5 Chevys. And I guess that's how they think, because it's been zero interest, lots of, well, we've got some employee discounts so we could really deeply discount this Tahoe. It's like, no. And I was like, forget it. I'll just rent. And my crowdfunding is going pretty well. This is 2018, 2019, 2020, and we've been able to rent. But a couple things. I was looking back, and I have spent on rentals over the last couple of years in excess of $12,000. Now, that's covered the biggest hurricanes we have seen in the last 2 years, and that's been a great thing. But kind of like renting versus owning your house, that's it. Thrifty, which was who I rented from the most, they've got all that money, and I've got a 20-year-old vehicle still sitting in my driveway. If something pops up, I got to hope that there's something available. This year really saw that come to light with the rental crisis. The pandemic had a big sell-off, and then stuff started bouncing back too quick. The rental companies weren't prepared, and it was like, oh my goodness. And as a little quick side story, as an example, sometimes even the best of rental companies, Enterprise has done a good job too. You rent and you reserve a Ford F-150 like I did for the great lake effect snowstorm of 2020 in Syracuse. I get to the airport and, oh, Mr. Sudduth, we're so sorry. All we have is a Dodge Caravan. And you saw it's in season 1 of the second episode, I think. Yes, I drove in a lake effect blizzard in a minivan, and I never got stuck. I'm patting myself on the back. I did pretty good. But sometimes you're going to get left, like, whoops. So I could reserve a car or a truck or whatever here, and they'd be like, hey, sorry, we don't have any. What if it's the 4th of July or Memorial Day, or not Memorial Day? Lord knows, no hurricanes for Memorial Day, Labor Day. Point is, I think it's time to get a vehicle, and I would like to crowdfund it. And I've been talking to Karen because we just got, she told me, bounced ideas off. And I like her idea of a fundraiser, drop the D, not fundraiser, but a fundraiser. This is for us. It's not buying me a vehicle. Well, actually, I'd lease one, and we'll talk about why I want to lease in a moment. But it's for the project that I can have a vehicle that's reliable, ready to go. I'm not going to put a bunch of stuff on it like the old Tahoe. There's no need to. No need to have an anemometer and a roof rack and all that craziness because we have all this remote equipment. I need a way to get the stuff to where we need to go. And then folks that are helping out, Brent and Matt and whomever, as we grow, they can rent vehicles wherever they come in, and we can have multiple vehicles. We definitely need multiple vehicles. We're not in the position yet for me to have multiple vehicles, maybe one day, but it's time. And so I think leasing for 3 years is appropriate because buying something, A, it's more expensive unless you have a huge down payment. And then we don't know. In 3 years, the technology could get so good that, yes, battery powered stuff is the way to go. Or somebody figures out how to get rid of hurricanes altogether, and I got to completely think my business model, and I'm stuck with something for 2 more years that I can't afford. I have to be smart about it at the same time. And someone's trying to sneak in my office. Can I help you? Oh, it's Josh again. So we could do, as Karen talked about, it's up to you guys. I'm going to formally announce on Monday a campaign to raise whatever we can raise to put towards a down payment on a lease of something. Will it be an $800 bicycle? Not very practical, but if that's all we raise, I will go out and buy a bicycle and drive it. That's not going to happen because it's just not. Or is it so successful that, wow, we could actually afford a $100,000 Land Rover type, workstation SUV, kind of the top of the line pipe dream, or more reasonable something in between, a truck or maybe an SUV like the 4Runner from Toyota. That's a good vehicle. A Tundra like Matt has. He drove me around in his when he was helping out back in April. I've rented everything you could think of. I've rented Jeeps, I've rented Dodges, I've rented Fords, and Matt drove me around in his Tundra. So I know the vehicles pretty well. I'm not interested, unfortunately, believe it or not, in Chevrolet. And it's not bitter that they weren't coming to my rescue, so to speak. It's just the new models of the Tahoes and the Suburbans just don't interest me. The Silverado, et cetera. I want something different. I drove the F-150 and the 1500 from Dodge many, many, many times. I had an F-150 for a full year from Thrifty when they did this 1 year rental thing that we were doing for about $6,000 for the year. So that's what I'm thinking of doing, is leasing a vehicle. Probably need, just to give you some ballpark ideas, $4,500 to $5,500 down to get my payment to where it's about $450 a month for 3 years. Could ask them for maybe 15,000 miles a year. Yes, there will be times that I will want to rent something to either save on the mileage, or it's a really big hurricane. We know it's coming, and I'm going to probably need a big old truck, but at least I know, oh, there's no big old trucks available. Sorry. I've got the whatever 4Runner, a Tundra, who knows what it'll be, in the driveway, ready to go. I don't have to sweat it. There was a couple times this year I was looking online here locally and no vehicles available. I was telling Matt, can you drive that Tundra to Wilmington from Austin? He used to live in Austin. He's like, I could, but I don't want to. It's great that people are willing to help, but it was tough this year and we don't know how the market's going to be. And I just felt like, let's do it ourselves. If these big companies don't see the value and understand what we're doing, I have tried. People have tagged Chevrolet. I made a little sizzle reel about it that was like a Hollywood movie trailer, and nobody was interested. So, okay, hey, look, fine. We'll just do it ourselves. That's what we've done with everything else. Arm Young didn't give us any anemometers. You guys bought those. Max Oak didn't give us those batteries. You guys bought those. So let's just take it up a notch and let's get ourselves a vehicle that I can say, I'm driving to the hurricane in this vehicle. You guys made it happen. I'm going to announce it on Monday. and we'll give it about 30 days, and I'm going to do something in December. I'm not desperate. I know I can still rent. I've got a good history with the rental industry. There's no problem there. But when I don't have to rent, I just think that's going to be better. And it'll be something that's ours. And, on the road, being able to thank people over the air that, yeah, you guys helped make this happen. Putting names in the credits of a future episode of the Hurricane Highway, the HurricaneTrack forerunner, funded by all these names, stuff like that is a reciprocal that at the end of the day, you guys, that's your vehicle. It's us, it's ours. When I come to where you live, you can come touch it. My goodness, we did that. Not Ford gave that to us. We value what we pay for and we earn it. And I feel like I've earned the right to say, you know what, let's get a vehicle and make it our own and go from there. So that's my big announcement, like the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to going forward. I think I covered just about everything. So
can I cut you off?
Please, Aaron.
I've been pushing Mark on this because for one reason, one particular video, a live storm we were watching, and something almost hit the rental vehicle. And I'm like, if something crashes into the vehicle, what is it going to cost Mark to get it fixed? I mean, granted, he has insurance, but and if he'd have got stuck, whatever, it was just like, you know what, he needs a better deal here. He needs a more reliable vehicle. But Mark's very I can't think right now. What we need to do, and anybody who wants to do this, is there's not a dollar amount for people to give.
Right.
If you don't give $500, your name's not going to be on the truck. It's not going to be that way.
Right. Exactly.
You give $1, your name goes on there. It's not going to cost that much more money to put, 50 names or 500 names. So, and you might have $2 extra today, throw it in, and then in 3 weeks, a couple more. But I would like to see Mark buy a vehicle instead of rent.
Sure.
But that's my practicality here on that. But that's where I was thinking on this, of pushing him to get a vehicle. You guys, your guys, I mean, come on, don't you want a new truck?
Right. Yeah.
So,
just leave it to the people. We'll see what we can come up with.
exactly. So, we'll just all give as we can.
Right. And I want to be able to walk in and say, I'm ready to go. I got it. It's all set. And just, obviously negotiate. I'm not going to, go MSRP or anything, but that I don't have to sweat it and worry about it. And it'll be something that's ours. And if I can outright buy it, that'd be great. If it's a lease for 3 years, that's a little bit financially more secure. And, I'm going to take good care of it. I've never wrecked a vehicle in a storm, knock on wood. Like some people out in the world have done, sometimes on live stream. We're just more safe than that. It doesn't mean though that we leave it at the hotel and we're safe and sound, and a piece of plywood or something hits it from somewhere else. But we don't ever do anything outrageously dumb, for viral video, which whatever. I don't want to start accusing people of stuff, but I've seen some dumb stuff out there that I question. And so leasing something, we will return it at the end of the 3 years in pretty good shape, and maybe even buy it at that point. But at the end of the 3 years, maybe there's something even better out there. The hybrid technology gets better. Who knows? 3 years from now, where will we be? So that's why I'm thinking about leasing something. Anybody else got anything, Mr. Crum?
Yeah, I just sort of thinking out of the box, and instead of strictly just donations out of the pocket, maybe some type of, between ourselves and Patreon members, I don't know, like a raffle system, maybe.
Right.
somebody goes out and buys a home generator, maybe it could be anonymous. You put it out, and if the bid comes in at $50, so be it. They get a nice generator, and you get $50, or
Right.
it goes way over. I don't know. Again, just thinking out of the box.
Yeah, different ways to make it happen. Yeah. But that's
Well, that's a good idea. I mean, I didn't realize you're using generator, but
or a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's just
yeah. This is going to be on YouTube, so Mark's got thousands of people who watch, and if I go get the generator, who have I got to mail it to?
Right.
Have
Well,
you
that's
tried
what
to
I
mail
said.
anything lately?
I'm sorry.
I said, have you tried to mail anything lately?
No.
They'll
Yeah.
get it in a few months. Right. I hear
Well,
But you're
if
right,
you
I'd love
get it
to
at
have
all,
YouTube.
right?
This is open to anybody, not just Patreon. And maybe somebody will watch this on YouTube and say, you know what, I want to be part of that.
Exactly.
Who knows? But
Yeah, send them the money, let them buy it in their local
right. True.
market or
Send them
whatever.
yeah. I like that. But I want to crowd fund a vehicle. And if we do the entire vehicle, great. And we'll have options. That's the bottom line. And I'm going to announce it on Monday and give you a running total as we head towards some kind of a goal. And I will do it through PayPal. Let me just make this clear. Unfortunately, there's no avenue to do it through Patreon, except the easiest way, honestly, and this is pipe dream. If everybody doubled their current amount for just 1 month, it's done. And then you go back to what you were doing, it's all over. It's funded, and I would be able to go buy it in person. That's not going to happen because all 900 and something people aren't seeing this video, first of all. So that's the only way to do it through Patreon, is through increasing your pledge for a month or two. But I don't want to wait too long. I want to get this rolling. So I'm going to do it through PayPal or Venmo, or remember, you used to write a check. People can send a check or a money order, and I'll set all that up. And we're just going to have a weekly, hey, here's how much we're up towards, like the old thermometer back in grade school that Matt reminded me of, that towards the progress. But instead of a thermometer, I like Karen's idea. I'm gonna have a bicycle. Hey, we're at least getting a bike. Oh, now we're up to a $8,000, Kia base model, whatever. And, oh, look, we're up to a Jeep Cherokee. You get the idea, that we move up the ladder, so to speak. And at the end of the 30 days, November 30th, see what we got. And I'll go from there. And if I end up going to two-wheeler dealer and getting a really nice $800 bike, I'll take it with me in the back of the rental and ride it down the beach to go pick up the camera afterwards. I mean, we'll kind of tongue in cheek on that, but let's see what we can do, but realistically, between $5,000 and $6,000 will give me a good down payment and a lease payment that I can handle. And I base that on what Thrifty offered me last year during the pandemic. It was $399 a month for a $70,000 Ford F-150. No money down. They were desperate. They were. So they rolled this out to some of their higher end customers that good credit, good, reputation with Thrifty. And so it's $399 a month. And then you got the airport fees and the local fees and the tourist fees and the whatever. It was $452 a month or something like that. So I'm thinking, yeah, I handled that pretty well. So that's a good range that I can think of in the future for 3 years, that the patron support, even with no hurricanes, shouldn't dip down to where I can't afford that vehicle and start impacting the ability for me to take care of my family, which of course is my career. It's what I got to do. So that's what I'm thinking. That's where we've come this year. There you go. I've laid out pretty much everything I've thought about for you. So mull it over. And
One more quick thing, Mark. We just want to let everybody know too, it's not going to be like on one of those donation sites where it says, Mark Sudduth gave $50.
Right.
It's not going to be like that at all. It's just going to be your name on the vehicle, and that's it. If you give 50 cents or 50,000, nobody is better than anybody else, because everybody gives as they can.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah, and so what she's talking about is I want to have a little a way that I'll put a thing on there on the back that'll say this vehicle proudly supported by, and I'll just have everybody's names on there. And then the end credits of future videos as well, the Hurricane Highway season 3, 4, 5, whatever. Just people know. They just, you know, I made that happen. I gave $10 to that. I gave 100. I gave 1,000, whatever. I helped to make that happen, and you'll know. And that way there's not like a pyramid top of the thing that Bob is the big winner of $5,000, you know. This is a different situation. I don't want to have it in tiers, so to speak, because everybody has different, you know, financial situations and what they can do. And just supporting this monthly has gotten us a long way. And I don't want to take that for granted. So, all right. I have time for a couple of thoughts from the crowd, if you will, and then I got to wrap things up and make dinner for my kids and be the responsible dad. Anybody got anything before I let you go?
Mark, why you don't have a Zoom about winter forecast? Do like a winter forecast. What you see what's going to happen now during this winter. We're going to have a lot of winter storm, nor'eastern, like the one they have this past week and the stuff. Are you planning to do like a winter forecast? What you see what's going to happen during this coming winter with the snow events and nor'eastern, you know, all the things that's going to happen during this winter. Have you thought about doing that?
So if I understand you correctly, Javier, a winter version of like what we think the hurricane season is going to be like?
Yeah, like that.
That is just so far in terms of long range forecasting out of my realm. But having someone come on, this is what I'm talking about, like that weather roundtable idea, that knows that kind of stuff. You know, Ben Knoll could opine about it. I mean, he's got a lot of interest from people in the Hudson Valley, for example. And that's what I've been very transparent about. I don't know everything. And that's why I like bringing in Eric Weber and other people that do know more than I about a variety of topics. And so talking about the winter ahead, winter is a big draw. I know you guys down in Florida are like, you can have your winter. And mostly too, David and Houston, you're protected from most winter except this year. But, you know, there's a big area in the Northeast that really cares about winter. And so that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I put out there, just said Gulf snowstorms.
Right.
I didn't mean a foot of snow at the Yucatan Peninsula, but you know how you get these low pressures that just explode in the Gulf.
Yeah.
And you get severe weather in the panhandle of Florida, across Florida. You get copious amounts of rain in the southeast. And depending on whether it splits the chute up through Chattanooga, Kentucky, or the leeward sides. And then you can get heavy amounts of snow in the Appalachians. So there's a lot of that's on in our areas.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So you get lots of feedback. And
the Miller A versus the Miller B storm tracks. Some of this I do know a little bit about. And I think, you know, doing more where I spread the word more about this off-season stuff, that, you know, I'm a weather geek at heart and I know a lot about most of the weather. Hurricanes are my specialty, but again, bringing experts in more often, I'm going to focus on that. And I forgot about one more thing. I didn't even make a note of it. It's my fault. Even when people say make a list, if you don't put it on the list is no good. And I'm glad I thought about it before I let you go. One more idea. And this one doesn't require any capital. So you'll like this. In my video discussions, starting in 2022, because I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this, I want to make them a little bit better produced so that they're a little bit more impactful on YouTube. I'm going to create a beginning, an intro, a little music score, and a little dazzling kind of thing using this website that I've already got that does all this stuff for you automatically. It's all there. But before it starts, I want to have you guys record looking right at the camera. Hi, my name is Karen. I live in wherever it is, Florida. I've been supporting Mark and his project since whenever, and this is the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. Fade out, boom, into the intro, 3 seconds long, whatever, dun, 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 then it's me. I fade in, hey, good afternoon, everybody. Mark Sudduth here, da, 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 and then have an outro. Every discussion, I want to feature one of you guys so that it shows these are real people. it does bother me. I know you say it shouldn't when I talk about Patreon and people go, he's just begging for money. Let's show people the real people that are behind this. And if you add it up over the course of a year, there could be a lot of people. And so all it requires is you just record yourself. You get your significant other or your buddy at work or whatever, and just a little quick thing, hey, I'm Doug Crum. I live in Atlanta area. I've been supporting this project for 4 years, and this is the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. Right into it.
Drop us in.
And I just drop it in. You send it to me ahead of time. I get a bunch of them, in advance, and I just go through it and I edit it together. I just think that that'll show the world these are real people that are behind this. And they can look at Patreon and see what the numbers are. There's 900 and something, but those are just numbers. What about the people behind those numbers? And honestly, it's another way to say, look, you're famous. You're on that video discussion forever. It'll live on YouTube's cloud long after I'm not here. So what do you think? Would y'all be willing? Some of you might not want to, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to, and you take a few takes, but I think I would like to see that. And I get the idea from public radio. Oftentimes I hear a real quick audio thing and somebody will come on and they'll be like, hey, I'm Joe Shavitz and I own Joe's Coffee Shop and I've been supporting WHQR for 3 years now. And then they go on and on for about 30 seconds about how important local radio is and the news and whatever. And I encourage you to support public radio as well. Thanks, whatever. And I was like, that's a good idea. It's a way to show people this really is crowdfunded and here's the people behind it. So
I think it was absolutely fantastic idea.
Right. Not going to twist your arm. If you don't do it, you can't have access or anything. But for those of you that aren't camera shy, I think it would be really neat. So we're going to start that in January.
I think Kari has to be first.
Yeah, we'll do the farthest away from my geographic location.
I can do that. That's okay.
That would be good. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you tuning in and being a part of tonight and the rest of the season. Any thoughts you have, my email, most of you should have that. You can also comment on Patreon. And anything. I'm open to suggestions. If you didn't like something that I said or want to modify it, I'm open. But I covered everything. I don't have anything I forgot now. I can't believe I forgot that one thing. Yes.
As far as long range forecasting for tropical weather, I've mentioned this in the past. There's Eric Burrs of the West 2 in Orlando. He does a coffee talk in the morning on YouTube to his viewers, and he's very big into long range forecasting, and he's taught me a lot. But you have to be very careful when you present it in Twitter with 140 characters.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Especially when you're going out 384 hours in GFS.
Exactly. Yeah, context. Exactly. Well, good. Well, I'm going to let y'all go. I got to get the kids' supper and so forth. I really appreciate your time and attention. It's good to see some of you for the first time. Lots of amazing things ahead. This is not the end of something. This is the beginning of what we're going to start doing, what I call the next play. And we'll take it from here, everybody. Have a good weekend. Safe Halloween. Watch out for the trick-or-treaters out there. And keep your porch light on so they know they can come and get some candy from you. All right?
God bless you, Mark.
Y'all too. Thanks. See you next time around.